A professional is a person who solves professional problems. If you are developing a solution to some problem, you are on the way to professional growth. You are becoming a professional. However, not all the problems are real professional ones. If your printer doesn't work, you can say this is a problem, but it's not a professional problem, certainly. The real professional problem guides your life. It gives you a goal, it imposes you a way of seeing the world, and gives you criteria for decision-making. Speaking philosophically, the scale of personality is determined by the scale of the chosen problem. So this is the crucial point of professional development, and a deep understanding of how to pose a professional problem is needed. This is what we will speak about. First of all, let's distinguish two types of ignorance. There is subjective ignorance as well as objective ignorance. Subjective ignorance is when you don't know something, but there is somebody who knows the answer. Objective ignorance is an open question and nobody knows the answer. It's ignorance of humanity. The subjective ignorance of professionals coincides with objective ignorance in their field. So professionals push back the frontiers of our ignorance by solving problems. Scientists and researchers do that in science, and applied professionals do that in practice. By the way, in different fields, reaching the frontiers of ignorance requires different efforts. In some fields, it takes years of hard work and study, in mathematics, in industrial technologies, in material science, in medical science, and so on. If you just want to clearly understand the statement of the Riemann hypothesis, you would have to be familiar with complex analysis and analytic number theory. It means years of study in math in university. On the other hand, there are a lot of simple questions with no answer. How to write a bestseller? What are the best strategies for building a career in some fields of art? How can a startup's chances of success be increased? How to develop terms of reference for software to avoid any alterations? Certainly there are a lot of books on these topics, but there is no technology or an algorithm that provides stable results. I recommend you make sure that there are a few useful pieces of advice in such books. You can do that with the help of two videos: instrumental value of a book and typical mistakes in highlighting books. There is a bitter irony in the fact that a lot of problems are so close to us but are not posed as problems. They say this is not a problem but natural order of things. The matter is that it costs too much for society. Usually we just lose a lot of money. For example, when the terms of reference are changed for some reason, programmers have to rewrite the code again and again, wasting a lot of time. But sometimes the problem can cause the death of many people. Do you remember Ignaz Semmelweis, a Hungarian physician? Semmelweis discovered that the incidence of puerperal fever could be drastically reduced to almost zero by requiring hand disinfection. Semmelweis' observations conflicted with the established medical opinions, and the medical community rejected his ideas. As a result, the maternal mortality rate was up to 30% for decades. Just imagine every fourth woman dying because doctors didn't wash their hands after an autopsy. So the problem must be posed, and your research must be problem-oriented. But this is not all. The problem must be posed correctly. Participants of value-added reading course after some basic training start to work on chosen problems. But experience has shown it's not so easy to correctly pose a problem. Let's consider several typical mistakes. Mistake number one: the problem is replaced by a speculative theme with no problem factor. It means that the problem doesn't exist in reality. Nobody suffers from it. Something like organizational, economic, and managerial relations in the enterprise. This is not a problem. There are two causes of such a mistake. The first one is that participants don't observe the real process where the problem could emerge. They don't have access to the real problems. For example, if somebody wants to solve pedagogical problems, but he or she has never worked with any children. The second cause is when participants, instead of looking for a problem, look for something they are interested in, missing the problem factor. Mistake number two: the problem is replaced by good intentions. It can sound like the full-fledged development of a modern person's thinking, or the ideal form of society. Usually these problems are so global and so comprehensive that it's impossible to have a sufficient impact. What's more, they are subjective. The ideal society or powerful thinking means different things for different people. Mistake number three: the problem is replaced by a field of knowledge. For example, how to teach or how to run a business. These questions are equivalent to the whole fields of education and business. For interest, you can check out the International Standard Industrial Classification with hundreds of types of businesses. They have different problems at different stages of their development, in different units, with different clients, and so on and so forth. If you try to say something about business in general, it appears to be a simplification or a commonplace. Mistake number 4. The problem is replaced by a wrong or bluff solution. Here, instead of focusing on the root of the problem, participants choose some popular, unverified idea or a common stereotype. Something like chess as a tool for developing intelligence, or nudge as a tool for solving any problem. There are a lot of simplified concepts or bluff concepts in non-fiction literature on business. When you face, say, such a book, the best way is to check out the primary sources and reveal the original problem. I will show you how to do that in one of the following videos. Mistake number 5. The problem is replaced by a task. An extreme example, how to find an apartment. It's a relatively simple task in comparison with social or scientific problems, and you can easily find the answer on the internet. But surely a solution to the problem cannot be so obvious. That is why preliminary research and reading of classical literature are crucial. By the way, we have already discussed how to read the classics. The link will be in the description as usual. Another aspect of this mistake is typical for business-oriented problems. It occurs when you choose your typical business problem as a research problem or as a professional problem. If you want to create a consulting service, this is a possible way, but if you just want to solve the problem, it will be easier for you to address a consulting firm instead of initiating research. These are 5 typical mistakes in posing and choosing a problem. But how to avoid them? By using a special model. It consists of 3 elements: a group of actors, a chain of actions, and a targeted result. Let's discuss them all. A group of actors. You should always start with your audience or a customer. It cannot be just one person, it's always a group of people, because we are looking for a relatively massive problem. These are the people who face the problem, who are already acting to solve the problem, and who will apply your solution if you managed to develop it. That's why they are called a group of actors. A chain of actions. It's a sequence of actions that our actors perform to obtain the result. Not their emotions, not their assessments, just actions. A targeted result. So it is a result or a goal of the group, the end result of a series of actions. Let's consider an example. Programmers, group of actions, develop software in several particular steps or stages, chain of actions, resulting in software that solves a customer's tasks, or targeted result. And another example. Parents, group of actors, influence their child and make decisions, chain of actions, about their child's future qualification or set of skills, so targeted result. This is a model of parenting. Yet another example. Professionals, group of actions, develop solutions to professional problems. They pose a problem, collect data, develop a model, and write a book to explain the model. This is a chain of actions. And a book that provides recommendations to address the problem is a targeted result. After you formulate the process through this model, you can point out the problem. Problems occur at different elements of the model. They can be a problem with the group itself. For example, in the 19th century, women didn't have the right to vote. That was a big problem. The first place in Europe to introduce a women's right to vote was the Grand Duchy of Finland. It was a part of the Russian Empire in 1906. There can be a problem with the chain of actions, even with the fact that it is unknown and impossible to control. This is so with programmers' chains of actions. Many decades ago, Frederick Brooks, among others, posed this problem. What are the stages of effectively designing software? What are the competencies of programmers at different levels? How to test them? There is no good answer to this question. That's why there are so many reworks in the IT sphere. Finally, there can be a problem with targeted results. For example, how to choose a profession, what skills will be required in the near future, or what product does the audience need, what characteristics of the product are crucial and need to be improved, and so on. All examples are about practice, not science. If you are interested in a similar review of scientific problems, please write in the comments below. To sum up, the problem is a key point of interest for a professional. It defines long-term professional goals. That's why you have to be very careful choosing and posing a problem. I strongly recommend you to consult with the highest level professional you can find in your field. And sure, you are free to ask questions in the comments and contact me through the links in the description. There is also additional information there. Now I will say goodbye, watch other concentrated videos on the channel, and see you in the next video. Thanks.